Hi everybody, name is Russell Terry Powell and welcome to my YouTube channel. Going to make a video reporting on what I'm going to call my lost summer. Some of you know what a weekend is. I'm not talking a lost weekend, I'm not talking about that. This was not self-inflicted, this is something that came up, had to be taken care of. It's kind of a long story, but I hope I won't make it too long. I don't want to lose anybody's attention if I can help it. But I had heart surgery, and I'm going to show you next my heart pillow. There it is, for what it's worth. And to make sure that you know that I did not just pick it up at a rummage sale or a thrift shop, and that this is indeed the kind of pillow they give you at the hospital when you wake up after the surgery. Take a look at my scar. Don't know how well I'm able to show that because it's hard to hold the camera and then not quite see what you're focused on. There you go. A nice long little scar. Still healing up technically. They say that it takes 8 weeks, and I think that's the minimum for your chest to heal after they do the surgery. Alright, so what led to all this? And by the way, as a Cubs fan, knowing what I know now about my heart leading up to the surgery, last year's World Series, it's a wonder Game 7 did not kill me. But anyway, trying to focus on this, what the pillow says. Presence Covenant Medical Center Cardiac Surgery. So that's what that says, in case you've seen it but didn't get a chance to actually read it. It's annoying to try to stop a video in order to read a text that quickly flashed by. Now, what's important here is what I've got to say about it. And my message about it is get yourself checked out, especially if you've got a family history. Make every effort to, if you have to, go to your regular doctor and get referred to a cardiologist and that they can work with, you know, and everything, and get your stress test. So I'm going to tell you the story about mine as you look at the little heart picture on my pillow there. Ruth and I were having a little bit of domestic bliss, and you probably know what I mean when we were discussing her chest pains, and I had her in the ER for chest pains, and well, we were having a little bit of a dust up over it. And I told her what I hadn't told her about was that I had a brief chest pain at work. Well, I'd figured, well, I'm just overdoing, so I backed down my work, kind of backed off a little bit, and I was fine, so I thought. So the gist of it is, our discussion, as warm a one as it was, we decided we needed to both see a cardiologist and get our stress tests done, because she hadn't had one for a while, and the last one I had done, they told me it was inconclusive because my chest was too thick. What kind of crazy thing is that? And me being kind of the happy-go-lucky sort, no news is good news kind of thing, I just kind of ignored it, never went in for the other kind of stress test where they actually go inside and have a look, or nothing like that. So I went and we seen the cardiologist, and we were scheduled for stress tests. Had to go to Urbana to the hospital, well, actually to Christie in Urbana, to get them. And I figured, well, Ruth's going to take longer because hers is not the treadmill kind, and mine I'll just get done and be ready and waiting, and because you know, I'll get the treadmill kind and over and done with, nothing to it, right? Was not expecting a thing out of it, not one thing to come out of it for me. If anything, I was more concerned about what was going on with her. Pardon me. But that fact just kind of multiplied the shock. But I'll tell you, I had clues several months leading up to, especially last couple months leading up to this discovery, was the fact that I was losing energy. I was bleeding energy off. Kind of like Apollo 13 was venting out into space after their spacecraft half blew up. That was where my energy, I was losing it. And I had gotten to where not only was I taking my prescribed medicine and having juice of a morning and all that like I'm supposed to, but I was also taking 3 men's multivitamins just to try to have the energy to get through work. And after work, I was drained. I had nothing left in my tank. I had hit the energy wall, as I call it, and gotten well beyond it. Not enough energy to hardly do anything at all. And it got to where even if I signed a voluntary go home and got off early, or if they just sent us home a little early of an afternoon, I come home, oh, that recliner looks good, plop myself in it, and that's it. Fight and sleep, and all I felt like doing was watching TV or something, not up to doing anything. So that was a pretty good clue something was wrong. But anyway, I go in, get my stress test. They put the electrodes on me, and I'm laying down, and they do their little electrode thing, like a sonogram type of thing. And then they get me up. The cardiologist comes in the room, and they get me up on the treadmill. As soon, hardly took a couple steps on the treadmill, cardiologist orders the test stopped. And they get me laying back down, and they're real worried about me, and the cardiologist kind of explains, about my aorta, said it was distended, and what that means, it was bigger than it should be. My understanding, it was kind of like the radiator hose on a vehicle before it blows. Not a good thing for part of your circulatory system. And I further understand that if it does blow, no matter where you're at, whether you're running around or you're at work or home or whatever, you've got minutes to get on an operating table, or that's it. Okay, so he sends me up. I get one of those CT scans, and he orders me off of work till this is fixed, and I'm still off work. Okay, that was about the middle of June approximately. By about the 28th, I think it was, that's when I had my surgery. And it was almost 2 whole days later, I'm finally waking up, and a little bit enough that I can hear my niece Donna sound like she was saying something like since I was starting to wake up, she had to go home, and but at least she had come to be with family while I was there. I'm very grateful Ruth did not have to sweat out all that time, especially while I was on the table alone. Very, very grateful about that, because that's tough. Very, very tough to be waiting for somebody's procedure to be done and be hoping for good news and everything. Very thankful for all the family that did show up. For those that didn't know about it or whatever, why, you're probably not very close to me anyway, so I can't really hold that against you. Anyhow, I'm just saying, I started waking up. They take this pillow out of a plastic bag, it's brand new, shove it in my hands, and they say, hold this to your chest and cough, and we'll suction out what's in there. And that was something apparently I had to be able to do before they could take me off the ventilator. Again, when you get heart surgery, you're going to be on a ventilator till you're awake enough to start breathing on your own and everything. And I took a long time coming out of the anesthetic, and I think I was still messed up by it even after I come home, because I think that there was my appetite killer. And that was one of the problems I had in the hospital, was no appetite. Couldn't hardly make myself eat anything for anything. Um, just let you know, um, my cardiologist, I call him Dr. Raj because I cannot pronounce his full name. Um, I think in baseball terms, he made a game-saving catch. Even my own sister, when I talked to her on the phone the other day, she acknowledged, and she flat out told me, if I hadn't taken care of it, I wouldn't be here now. And I think so. I think the tiredness, the lack of energy and stuff, my heart was like an old wind-up clock that was just winding down, almost ready to be finished. So this had to be done. So, after I had my heart cath, they decided they knew more about what was going on. And hey, I'm just saying this is medical stuff that I've got the right to keep it personal, but I want to share because I want you, the viewer here, I want you to get yourself checked out, especially if you've got a family history. And I do have an extensive family history of cardiac disease. That's why I kind of wanted that ignorance is bliss thing to continue, but it couldn't, or I would not have been here by now. So I'm saying, get yourself checked out. It took a while to get off the ventilator, and they were trying to encourage me to get. And the first thing you wake up, you want those doggone tubes out of your throat. They didn't have to encourage me about that. I mean, nobody wants tubes down their throat like that. Believe me. It's necessary, but nobody wants it. Now, what you got to do, though, is be able to prove to them you can breathe and you're awake and alert enough and everything, and they can do that. And they encouraged me to say, well, here in a little bit you can have some ice chips. I hadn't had anything to drink for I don't know, maybe 7-8 hours plus before surgery. So at that point, waking up, if I had had it, I would have given a mountain of gold for ice chips. And for the next several days, even really up till now, it's like I can hardly get enough water. So dehydrated was I and everything. Nothing like water when you can't have any. Believe me, if you've never been through anything like that, where you had to fast food and drink for medical reasons or anything, believe me, that's the thing you want most, is when you can't have it. Now, they finally got me off the ventilator and I'm breathing, and it took a while before they determined I was ready for ice chips. I think partly because I was still so out of it and sleepy, but they kept swabbing my mouth with the wet sponge type thing. And I eventually got to have ice chips, and eventually to have water and all that kind of fun stuff. And throughout the hospitalization, it took me about a week to get out of critical care. I don't know if that was a record, but my post-surgery recuperation in that sense was a little slow and difficult. Couldn't get enough water because they were limiting my water, and I could hardly make myself eat anything. That was the status. To need help getting in and out of bed, or even moving in bed because you can't use your arms, you're not allowed to use your arms to scoot around or anything. Horrible, horrible thing. When you got to go to the bathroom, they got to take you there, and then they'll check on you. They don't give you much privacy, and you had to swallow a lot of pride in the whole thing. But finally, I was able to eat enough, and I was able to walk enough. They declared me ready to get out of CCU, and they sent me up one floor to another room, which, although different, wasn't all that much different from the critical care unit. And I got a lot of visits from the doctor and the surgeon, and from his nurse practitioner and the nurses. They were in and out a lot. And the hospital is one of the worst places in the world to try to get some rest. Why? Because they keep coming to check your vitals, to poke you and prod you and all this kind of stuff. And that's just how it is. And they want to give you medicine and well, they have to do what they have to do to keep you going and make sure you're okay and hopefully getting better. Coming home, still not done with the heart pillow. Still in that thing where I had to hold it to my chest whenever I coughed, especially if it was going to be a hard cough or a sneeze. I had to, hey, that heart pillow is your chest protector in a case like this. Going home, I had to wear it under my seat belt, just in case of airbag deployed or whatever like that. I needed that little extra protection because there was concern that a deployed airbag could have hurt me. Alright, that's a lot of it there. Now, coming home, one of my key battles is to get enough in me to eat. I need calories. I'm bleeding calories and muscle because, oddly enough, when you're not eating enough for any reason, where does your body go to get sustenance? It doesn't attack your belly fat. It attacks your muscles, and you start losing muscle mass and tone and everything. And that's one of the reasons for cardiac rehab, I think. But because you've got to start rebuilding it once you're ready to start it. Oh yeah, and you got to walk, folks. If you have any kind of heart surgery, a walking program is part of your recovery, as well as cardiac rehab if that's what they decide to do. Had the home health nurses coming in and checking me. And by the way, they replaced my heart valve. I don't know if I mentioned that. I have an artificial one, and I have an artificial aorta. And I have one of those cards in case I set off a metal detector like in a courthouse or something. I have one of those little cards to explain it. So please, folks, please get yourself checked out before your heart gets in too bad of a shape. I think I better wind this up now. I could probably talk about this all day. Get yourself checked out. Get it taken care of. Reason I wanted to get it took care of and what helped me brave up enough is because, hey, my mission in life, other than serving the Lord best I can, my mission in life is to walk through life with Ruth. And I was not ready to check out and leave that mission unfinished. So there was my motivation that helped me conquer the fear of surgery. One of the horrors of my life has been the fear of having to have a major surgery. Well, I made it through one. And by the way, don't worry about how you feel going into the operating room. You get medicine before you go in that helps calm you down and helps start putting you out. I hardly remember being in that operating room more than a few seconds, and I was on the table about 6 hours, something of that sort. And I did not dream or anything. I did not know nothing from nothing till they started trying to make me wake up. OR, then waking up in recovery. So don't worry about, oh, it's going to hurt. No, it's not. You're not going to be aware of nothing. You'll be so out of it because the anesthetic nowadays is so powerful, I guess. Anyway, God bless. If you want to finish your mission on earth, make sure your heart is healthy. If it ain't healthy, do what you can to get it fixed. God bless. Jesus saves. And enjoy your life. I'm glad that if you did have the patience to finish this video, I'm glad you did.